Hi guys, Evo here. Today I want to have a look at High School Musical 3 Scream. I think it's one of the best songs in the series, and it's also one of the most dramatic ones. And I want to have a look if I can make it more dramatic and even a bit of a banger. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Alright, so the first thing I did, I started with this loop. I think it's from one of the choruses. So without anything, without any effects, it's gonna sound like this. Alright. The first thing I did was route it through Infiltrator and some EQ. So the Infiltrator preset is Acid 303, and with it, it's gonna sound something like that. Okay. It totally mangles the sound, but it kind of inspired me from here on out. So I also added some EQ to cut out the lows and a crystallizer to make it a bit bouncy. And I think I'm just using the bouncing bits preset here, and I've only adjusted the gate / duck here. Very useful feature if you want to just if you like a preset but you don't want it to clash constantly, just use the duck here, and what that's basically gonna do is just gonna, anytime the sound's not playing, it's just gonna duck. Actually, anytime the sound is playing, it's gonna duck. So yeah, so with all the effects, it sounds like this. I took the same loop and I routed it to channel 2, and on channel 2 I have another effects chain. So first I'm going to Deep Blue Glitch. I made this pattern, nothing special, just retrigger and shuffler, alternating. And then Infiltrator on Arpeggiator, that's just a standard preset. And then I have an EQ here, a bandpass EQ, and I've also automated one. Yeah, so together they're gonna sound something like this. I've automated the EQ, so this just comes in a bit slower. Right, it sounds really messy right now, but it makes sense in the grand scheme of things. So then I wanted to double these, so build on top of these basically, and I got these, I play these chords. They're pretty much the same chords in the song, so they sound like this. So for the first synth, I have a preset here, keys Opal. Feel free to copy any settings. By itself, it sounds something like this. Okay, and then chords 2 is this preset here. Okay, and on top of that, I added an 808. For the 808, I'm using an Umru 808. It is, I think all the drums in this song are from the Umru sample pack, and I highly recommend it. I think there's 3 of them, all 3 are worth it. I also added some strings, sound like this. And okay, so what I did was get some vocals from the original track, and then, for example, I got the scream from there, and I faded it in. And I left the piano just as kind of a filler because it adds some nice ambience to the intro. I also added some isolated vocals. I used LALALI.ai. It's just a vocal isolation web app. The vocals, when isolated, kind of sound like this. Now, they don't sound amazing because obviously the source file wasn't great either, but I just put some delay and some reverb. I just left it there for some dramatic effect, I suppose. Okay, so now there's one more vocal sample here. It goes like this. Just Troy saying scream, and then just before the drop into the verse, I added this iconic scene, which I think everyone's familiar with.
Tears and Troy.
I just added some crystallizer to it to make it more spaced out and reverby. So yeah, that's it for the intro. I just added some whooshy sounds. Now, without any interruptions, this is how the intro sounds. Here is the verse. So basically I got another loop from the song itself. However, this time it's from the, I think it's from the verses. I think it's actually when the song actually comes in. It's when the basketball started raining down, iconic scene. I wanted to keep most of that. And it sounds like this. So we have a bit of drums here. We have the guitar and most importantly, the basketballs. So I wanted to keep all of that and I just doubled the guitar here. Disclaimer, not a guitarist. I can barely play. In fact, the way I managed to play this is just drop the guitar to drop D and then just play bar chords. So that's the result. Okay. Again, doesn't sound amazing, but in the context of the song, it sounds a bit better. Then I just use the 808 and then some drums here. So the kick pattern is as follows. And the snare is just a simple pattern. So every 2 beats. And then we have the hi-hat, which is just pretty standard quarter notes and then just some rolls here. That's it. And then for this part, I wanted to also have chords, but a bit more spaced out. So something like this. Okay. So this is a preset from Serum and it is from the Waves pack. And then I've doubled it up. It sounds like this on itself. And then this is with the additional synth. Okay, then this is again from Waves and this is Synth Passion. Okay, so that's the basis of the verse. And I just wanted to add a melody. So I just got the melody from the chorus, but I just spaced it out a bit more so that it isn't up in your face in the verse. So it sounds something like this. Lastly, I have a lead sound here. It sounds like this. So that is just one single note, it's E. And what I've done here is I've pitched it with I pitch shifted it with the wheel and used the modulation wheel as well. So it kind of gives it a bit more life. And yeah, I think this fills out a nice space here between the verses, and here to have a bit of a break between the verses to differentiate them a bit, I've added this this break. Some of you might recognize it. This is from High School Musical 2, from Work This Out, from this iconic scene. There you go. Some extra samples for the snare because it sounded a bit dry. So just the drums, it's gonna sound like this. Right, so that sounds much better. For the second part, I added an extra sample here. So if you guys are familiar with the High School Musical series, and I mean, why else would you be watching this video? You know what team? So yeah, what's the next logical sample we have to include? It's a Wildcat. So I layered the snare with a sound of a tiger. So it's gonna sound like this. it just really reflects Troy's alpha male personality. So yeah, I think that's it for the drums. And without any interruptions, here's how the verse sounds. So So I wanted to incorporate one other song here, Bet on It, from High School Musical 2, which is probably the second best song after Scream in the whole franchise. Don't at me. The drums start a bit too harsh, so I faded them in with a simple automation clip. And then I also routed them through Infiltrator. The reason why I did that is because I'll show you the preset first. It's called That's Rectification. And once they build up here, it sounds amazing. It sounds like a riser. So I'm just gonna play this. The way they swell is pretty much perfect for what I was looking for the build up to the chorus. Right, so the main synth and the bass are gonna sound something like this. Just keep in mind that I've automated the distortion on the bass here so that it swells every note change. Right, and finally the lead. So the lead here is very important because it plays the melody, however it also builds up towards the end so that we have even more hype in the chorus. So it sounds something like this. Right, so that's perfect. And yeah, this is how the guitar is going to sound like when I've done some mixing to it. Basically what I've done is, if we go here, added some reverb to really just throw it all the way back. We don't want to hear my garbage playing, but it just adds a lot of texture to it. So on itself it's going to sound like this. Right, we fade it out. We don't need this to be the main focus here because there's a lot going on. There's the bass, the synths, the lead. And I threw in some extra vocal chops here. They're not really vocal chops, more like vocal cuts here from Troy. So we want them to be really in the background, but you know, we want to still portray the split personality Troy's having here between Juilliard and basketball. Right, so all in all, the pre-chorus is gonna sound like this. So for the chorus, I wanted to keep the original vocals from the chorus because they're insanely hype. Right, we want to keep that. I have added some few extra samples. They're mostly layers for the snare. So I'm just gonna solo out the snare. By itself, it doesn't sound great. However, with everything else, I think it fits quite well. At this point, I wasn't producing on my monitors, so it sounded fine. And then I realized that this 808 wasn't thick enough. So I made some improvements in the mix file. I used another 808 for the chorus, that's why. And then I just doubled the 808, which You know, if you've been making music, you know that's usually a no. But it worked out quite all right here, and I think because one of them is just distorted in a higher register. So together the 808s sound like this. Versus this when it's just the one 808. So yeah, I think that's fine. I included this fill here at the end. So it sounds like this. This is just a snare, and then I've automated the pitch so it goes up. That's how you achieve that sound effect. And here I've done the same thing, emphasized it a bit more with some extra snare drums, and then a tom fill. So it's gonna sound like this between the two choruses. And that's pretty much it. This is just the drums with the drum fills for the chorus with the cymbals here. For the lead, I'm using a DX7 preset called Game Blaster Lead. I'm just playing with the pitch wheel and the mod wheel. So it's gonna produce some really cool results. Something like, so this is just me holding a note, and I'm pitch shifting here, and then here I'm gonna use the mod wheel. So this is just the melody for the actual song, just played on a synth. So here we also have the guitar. The strumming sound was just me strumming the hell out of one note, right? And then just doing that for probably an hour until I get it right. And then the tapping is it's pretty easy to get if you don't want it to sound good. So all I did was just get the guitar into a guitar rig and just use one of the distortion presets, like the heavy distortion presets, and then all I did was just tap away, and this is what I got. I'm just gonna enable the strum, and then Troy. I'm just gonna enable everything really. And now with the guitar, it's gonna add some more dramatic effects, so it will sound something like this. Let me just play 2 bars before. There we go. We just end on Troy's scream. Right, so I think that's pretty much it for the song. I think it turned out pretty all right. I think it's definitely more dramatic. It is a bit of a banger. It's a bit of a bop. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Let me know if you guys like this type of content. I can do some more. And yeah, just drop a like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. And then I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.